Welcome, everyone, and to our free masterclass, Jump for Joy. We're jumping for joy.
We are. We're
And
still jumping.
yeah, we're super, super excited to bring this topic. Both of us have been reading a lot about emotions, and the topic of joy just kept coming up over and over again. So why not make a masterclass?
'Tis the season.
This season. But first, we wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between happiness and joy, because these two words are interchanged all the time. And I don't know if people are really clear about what it actually is. So Chris is going to
Do,
talk a little bit about happiness.
do you
And
want
hang
to
on one
screen share?
second. Yep, I'm going right there.
Okay, hence the name, Jump for Joy. So, as Sue said, happiness is, what is it? What makes us happy? And it seems that it's really more situational. It's more things like, things that happen to you, circumstantial. And Brene Brown says there's no research that on the study of happiness, and most of the research says that it's happiness is a trait and not rather than a state. So a trait would be part of who you are, and a state would be something we experience. So really, she says, based on her research, that's not true. It's happiness is more of a state. So it's more, again, it depends on external factors. And joy is something that comes from within. And Sue's, we got a lot about joy. So Sue's going to deep dive into that. So it's happiness is temporary. It's a good situation. Okay, something really good happened to me. Oh, and now I'm happy. And think of the saying, well, money can't buy you happiness. Well, yeah, kind of can. It just really can't buy you joy because, again, it's short lived, right, Sue?
Right, right.
And I'm just referring to my notes here. Um, Say you won the lottery, and I always think this is so interesting. So, wow, I just won $1 million. What am I going to do with that? And wow, I just can't wait to spend all that money. And then they interview people that have won the lottery, millions and millions of dollars, and they're like, I'm no happier than I was before. So again, it's in the moment. And happiness is a good thing. I mean, we want to be happy. We want to move through life happy, but it's not the same as really having that deep feeling of joy and connection. So, a lot of us really spend time, if this happens, fill in the blank, it could be anything. I got a great job. I lost 20 pounds. I finally made that goal of, you know, doing whatever it is, my exercising or a promotion in your job or whatever. And then I will be happy. And why put off your life waiting for something to happen externally to you? Again, I it's happiness is a good thing, but it's just not the same as having that inner joy. Um, so you might want to take a moment here to maybe just jot down things that make you happy. How about you, Sue? What makes you happy?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is my new puppy, because he jumps around and, he's just so fun. Excuse me. But it is situational. It totally is. He comes in, he comes out, he bounces around. Sometimes he's biting my hands. That's not so joyful. That's not so happy. But that is something that I could say makes me happy, is just being with my puppy. So I like that this happiness, I like what you said about it being something we want to do. We like this emotion of happiness, but happiness and joy are really different. And as you can see from the screen, happiness depends on external factors, where joy comes from within. And there's more to joy than just being happy. And it actually can be a choice that we make, an attitude that we adopt, that helps us to live the life that we want to live. And I think when we're content and working for the things that matter and letting go of the things that don't, we have a life purpose, all the things that Chris and I like to talk about a lot, then this innate sense of joy can become present. So we're quoting Brene Brown a lot because she is the researcher on emotions. And she just came out with a new book that's really, really wonderful as far as breaking down emotions and what it all means. But she describes joy as an intense feeling of deep spiritual connection, pleasure, and appreciation, and kind of a lighthearted, good mood for the soul. So it comes from this, oh, I've got this joyful state, and it is not tied to events or things or circumstances that is outside of ourselves. So joy is actually a state of being. And I like this other idea about having interconnectedness and worthiness. And if you're interested in this kind of work, hang on, because we're going to talk a little bit more about a new program we have coming up at the end. Brene Brown also talks about joy being the most vulnerable emotion that we can experience. It's one of our most valuable. All the Eastern philosophy teachings teach us that joy is the optimal state of being. But it's also a very difficult place because it makes us feel vulnerable. And she says, if we can't tolerate joy, we start dress rehearsing tragedy. So worst case scenarios, does anybody do that? So we know that joy comes from within, and it's like an attitude coming from more of a spiritual place or a sense of worthiness, an inner contentment, a feeling of being connected, and it's present no matter what's going on. So we sort of tagline this, we didn't say it in the marketing information, but we personally tagline, finding joy in the chaos. And Chris is going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. So the other thing that is, I think, vital about joy is we know that if we have this joyful experience, just our whole being is in a sense of contentment, and we can tolerate the world around us. We can be in and respond to the world around us. The other thing that can happen is our cells are healthier. And I know that sounds really funny, but they've done a lot of research on people that have negative words, say, they use anger words or fear-based words or even abusive words. And then they, also talked about with people that use more loving, more joyful, more happy words. And there was actually a difference in their state of health. And in Ayurveda, we have a word for that. It's called svasta. And it basically means one who is established in the self with balanced doshas, we call them, with good digestion, with healthy tissues, with healthy waste, with well-functioning processes, and whose mind, soul, and senses are full of bliss. That's a big order, right?
And I think those last few words, mind, soul, and what was the other one? Mind,
Senses.
soul,
And senses.
full of bliss. I mean, I think that's kind of, because it really is, to me, like a heart and soul connection.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really great. I went ahead. Sorry. I will back up. So the other thing to think about, and this is really interesting because we talk about this a lot, gratitude being the birthplace of joy. And Elena Fernandez actually said that saying, and it was, I believe, in a talk with Brene Brown. And the research describes the connection of gratitude and joy as an upward spiral, which I find really interesting, rather than a downward spiral that we're all very, very familiar with. And Brene Brown also says her greatest lesson over the 2 decades of research that she's had is the relationship between gratitude and joy. And because joy is it requires us to be vulnerable, and it's a hard emotion to be in. Um, if we can find our deep state of contentment or gratitude, then the joy is easier to be there. So it's almost like the two of them are sisters. I said this one day in my class. They're sisters and they play together. And if you can create a gratitude practice, say, you're going to be more likely to have this sense of contentment and joy than if you're not doing it. But it does take conscious effort. It does. You do need to have an awareness around, you know, all the negativity. And I'm just going to insert this little piece. I was in a call with some friends of mine yesterday, and we kind of went down this little rabbit hole of fear and what's going on with the world and all this stuff. And one of the people said, I just want to spread all the joy and happiness in the world. Like, I want to be the deliverer of this message of goodness and joy, rather than falling into this fear and worry and anxiety. And I just was so grateful, honestly, for the message, because it's too easy to just jump over there. And so this might be a really good time to jot down something or a time when you felt joy, and maybe see how they're different, happiness and joy. Chris, do you have a time when you can sense that you felt joy or were
I,
in joy?
I think joy over enjoy. Is that what you said? That's it. That's
You're in joy. No, that's
oh,
joyful.
not
You're being
in.
joyful, right?
Gotcha. Probably time with my grandson. When we're just playing, or he comes up to me and goes, "Oh, Grammy, I love you so much." I mean, it just warms my heart. And that's where I think that connection, joy and love, we're in that time of peace, joy and love that really go together. And I was thinking about this when I was out riding my bike today. So what does that feeling of joy, what does it feel like? Or that emotion of joy, what does it feel like? How does it feel in your body or in my body? And how do we cultivate it? We're going to give you some tips in a few, but linking it to something like gratitude helps you then build that. If it is more of a um, it's more of a trait than a state of being. It's more something that you take with you always, and it's
Right.
not.
It's an internal uh, state of being.
Dare we say spiritual connection?
Yeah.
I
And
mean, really.
the other thing too about that is that, we might all feel joy differently, but I keep going back to this sense of contentment, inner calm and peace, being able to see the gratitude in the world, being able to have these really happy moments often. Um, the more you cultivate that, the easier it's going to be. It's like how I think about when we sit on a yoga mat. The more often we go, the more often we exercise, the more often we take a walk, the more it gets integrated into the body. So
Mhm.
one last thing I want to mention, we asked on our Facebook group, I think it was last week, what the difference was between um, joy and happiness. And one of the women, I thought, made a really good observation. She said, happiness is an emotion, joy is a state of being. Now, Brene Brown actually says joy is also emotion, and joy and experiences kind of play together. And she talks about that in her book. You can have a moment that is not filled with emotion of happiness and still experience joy. Having a joyful outlook on life, carrying joy within your heart and soul were her examples. And I just thought that was a really nice way of expressing it, because it's a hard topic. Emotions are hard topics. It's like it's like you can't grab it. So Chris is going to go into little bit more about finding joy in the chaos.
And I think that's so relevant right now, this time of year. It's a crazy time for a lot of people. To I sent out a newsletter a email the other day and talked about this. I feel like we're in the season of too muchness, too much to do, too much to eat, drink, too many parties to be merry at, all of it. And how do you keep that sense of joy when things are hectic and you're exhausted? So things like Dr. Douillard says often, and I really like this, he said, you become the eye of the hurricane. You're like that steady eddy in the middle. So things are, when you're in a joyful state, things are swirling around you, but you are grounded, and you're um, staying away from being pulled in all these different directions. And I think, again, I think the power of discernment, deciding what to say yes to, and what, really importantly, what to say no to, and creating maybe even some boundaries with how you're extending yourself into this really crazy time of year for us. And I've said this to Sue before. I said, I think it's so funny because we are in that time where it's the shortest day. We're going into, the shortest day of the year, more dark, more inside, and everything is saying go within, go within. And here we are out, out and about, and just, moving in that opposite direction. Um, you know, Chaos actually means complete disorder or confusion. So, having again that sense of being really steady and really grounded is, to me, the way to navigate and find the joy, the things that in this time of year when we are trying to, again, connect with loved ones and stuff, what's really important? What are our choices? Um, so it's about choices and habits that they can really make a big difference for us. So, how are you spending that time, that self care time? How are you taking care of yourself so that you can really find that peace and joy? So,
Yeah, and something to remember is that the chaos life is always on. It's always going on. And if you continue to think about your external environment, well, if this would only be this way, or if that would only be that way, I would be happy and joyful. And we're trying to say, no, that's not always the case. Yes, you want to have discernment and make choices to your best interest so you don't put yourself in situations that may not be ideal for you. And there's always going to be stuff, news and people and activities and all kinds of things that can pull us out of our own center. And, Chris is going to talk a little bit about what we believe can help you.
yoga and Ayurveda, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. So, these are ways that we can create then that those practices and that routine to really support us. Um, so it's yoga teaches us to connect with the mind, and that's just the subtle essence of the body. And Ayurveda connects us to the body. And these two work together so well, and they help us create that harmony, that balance, that homeostasis that we need to be centered in the eye of the hurricane. Um, and Dr. Douillard did a really great interview. We posted it on the Facebook page, and talked about with Dr. Mark Harmon about how important it is for these two practices to be practiced together. So again, they're sister sciences. They go together. They are meant to one to support the other. And what they do is they encompass all of us. So not just the body and not just the mind. How does the body support the mind, and then the mind support the body? So really practices like, being meditation. And we're going to talk about that. Um,
In a
Sue's
minute.
going to talk about that in a minute, right? But these are just opportunities to find things that support us so that we can find joy in our life.
And the last little bit about that is, in the yoga studies, in the yoga teachings, we have something called koshas. And it's our basic our human body being, if you will, but we have different layers. Most of us understand that we have a physical body, we have a breath body, we have a mental body or our mind, and our emotions live with our mind body. And so if our thoughts are creating a situation where we are not grounded, centered, feeling the eye of the hurricane, very calm, then we can actually be the perpetuating situation. So it's not always out there. It's what we could perceive it to be. And we talked a lot about this in one of our programs we did called Mental Harmony, harmony for the mind. How do you create harmony for the mind? And so if you have an internal state of calm in the mind, you might be able to tap into the joyful contentedness state just overall in the emotions. So,
And I think that speaks to that idea of self-acceptance.
mm.
When we are really feeling, as we talked about the svasta being situated in the self, when we're good with where we are and who we are, we don't have that negative self-talk that sometimes I know you've experienced it. Um, that I talk to myself the way I wouldn't talk to even my worst enemy, and I'm like, what? So really being able to be situated and know that this is our one life and we should live it to the fullest and really figure out what helps us be supported and supporting ourselves through practices.
So we wanted to give you a couple of tips for finding joy, and they come from Ayurveda and yoga, and they're not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not surprising. It's what we teach. So with Ayurveda, it says tune into the rhythm of nature. And so what does that even mean? Well, we know that we are part of nature and our bodies feel more harmonious and more in balance the closer we can be with the cycles of nature, the cycles of day and night, the cycles of light and dark. And one of the things that can help us do this, because we're all creatures of habit, we stay up too late, we eat too late, we do all the things that humans like to do. But you could do one simple tip, and that's go outside in nature every day. And it could only be 5 minutes. It doesn't even matter. But if you can go outside and be on the earth every day, your body is going to thrive because it's finding that harmonious connection with nature. And I know, like for me out here in the desert, if I go out and take a walk on the road, I have a completely different experience than if I go out and I take a walk on the green belt path that's on the ground. It's so interesting to observe that. And, some of us might not have nature close by. Like Chris has got this wonderful park that she can be in. But I know people have gardens and lawns and they could just be out there. Speaking speaking of nature. And remember that it's not the length of time, it's the consistency of time of the practice over time that creates the best results. So if you've got 5 minutes, do 5 minutes. If 15 minutes feels better, do 15. You've got an hour, do an hour, but do it on a consistent basis so that your body can start to really hone in with this rhythm. It's so important. And then when we're talking about, and Chris brought up Mark Halpern. He is the president of the California College of Ayurveda. And he talks about it's virtually impossible to find a state of joy when we are distracted and pulled outside of ourselves. And so like right now, it's busy time. People want us to go here and there. We have to shop. We have to go places. And where are we going to find this resonance of internal calm? So going out in nature is one option. Yoga gives us another tool, creating quiet and stillness. And how would we do that? We would do that with meditation and or pranayama or breath work. And these are the simplest ways to create stillness, to create calm and quiet so that we can have this deeper connection. So we thought it would be really nice to just go through a very short breath meditation practice. So if you're in a place where you can be still, join us. If not, maybe do it another time. So I'm going to invite you to sit up nice and tall, put your feet on the ground, and feel the weight of your body in your chair. Feel the weight of your torso as you sit. And take a nice deep breath as you close your eyes. And without trying to change the breath or alter it in any way, watch the breath move in and out through your nostrils. And feel the coolness of the breath as you breathe inward, and the warmth of the breath as you breathe outward. Feel and sense maybe the belly moving as you breathe in and out, or the area around your lungs and the ribs expanding as you breathe in and out. Your own natural, easy rhythm of breathing. Bringing your conscious awareness to your internal body function of breathing. As the breath feels calm and easy, has a sense of ease to it, the body will also receive that sense of calm, and the mind will also have a sense of calm. Stillness, quiet. And stay with the breathing. And if your mind wanders, just bring it back to this state of breathing. Noticing the breath touching the nostrils as it flows in and out. Now, as we're sitting calm and quiet, can you bring a visual into your mind's eye of what makes you happy? You might even sense when you bring that visual into your mind's eye that there's a little shift in your internal body. There's actually a sense of happiness or smiling. I like to say the cells are smiling. And now see if you can tap into this state of joy, this sense of contentment. This sense of joy and this state of being where we are worthy, grounded, joyous. And bring that happiness and joy into your heart center. Let it expand in all directions as you breathe in and out. Now take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, let go of the intention and slowly come back. Opening your eyes, maybe moving a little bit. That was 5 minutes.
I feel calmer.
And 5 minutes is all we need to bring us back in and taking that moment of really deep connection. And I think that's the bottom line message, right, Chris, is that if we can keep this deep connection and not be dependent on everything else that's around us to make us feel a certain way, we will have this desired state of joy that we all want to be in. Would you
I
agree?
agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Chris is so relaxed now, she can't even like
I
respond to
know.
me.
It's so nice because we have our own practices, but to listen to somebody else, it's kind of like being in Shavasana. It's somebody else that's giving me permission to do that and guiding me along the way. And it feels good. And one of the things about these practices, as Sue said before, the more you do them, the more it becomes part of your habits. It becomes part of your routine. And I know this is true for Sue too, like coming back to the mat and sitting there, it's like your body just gets ready, or if you have a regular meditation or pranayama practice, sitting, your body just goes, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And it actually gets easier, I believe. That's been my experience as the more that you practice. And
Mhm.
they're just so simple and so profound all at the same time.
And that's really the juice of what yoga and Ayurveda is. It doesn't have to be complicated and hard. These are deep sciences. There's a lot of layers to them, but our job as householders, this is how we were trained as Ayurveds and yogis. We're bringing sort of the householder people, the people that have to live in the world every single day, these simple, easy things that they can do. And over time, you have that reconnection. I mean, think about if you had a really difficult day, just in general, and you just took 5 minutes to sit on your mat or 10 minutes to go walk outside, how much that would shift you. And it's so profound, and our bodies really want it. Our minds really want it. We just have to get out of our own way, is what I like to say often. So Chris is going to talk to you a little bit more about something that we've got going on that we feel, if you're interested in this kind of discussion, you might really be interested in what we have to say here.
So this is our way of going a little bit deeper, and this is our roadmap that we put together for our empowered living program. And what we're going to do, and we're just going to walk you through how we've set this up, is we're going to look first, and we're using the tools of yoga and Ayurveda to get us to this point of empowered living, which is really joyful living. And it's first finding out your unique constitution, and that would be from the Ayurvedic um, text. That's your dosha, what your tendencies are, what your makeup is, so that you get a deeper understanding of who you are, and then those things that tend to pull you off track. And then again, the things that pull you off track are your obstacles. So then how do you deal with the obstacles when they show up? Because life is, you know, it's kind of like an obstacle course sometimes, right?
Right.
And once you know what your obstacles are, what are your choices and how conscious? Because again, this is about becoming a little more conscious so that we move through the world with consciousness and awareness. So making those choices consciously instead of always going back to default. Like I will wrap myself out right now. Yesterday was my sister's birthday. So it was just her and I got her a cupcake. And then I had to get a macaroon because it looked so good. And then after I had the cupcake and the macaroon, I had to finish off the ice cream. Were those conscious choices? No, that was total default. Just what was I looking for? None of this was gonna it wasn't going to bring me joy, and it certainly didn't make me happy. So I just don't even know. But that's that default pattern. And then once you start to make more conscious choices, it evolves into really looking at your habits and making a really good, again, good choices and setting up your routine so that it supports you, so that you can get to that place of more consciousness, more connection to yourself, to that spiritual part of all of us, and then what connects us all so we can show up in the world not just for ourselves, but show up as better humans for the planet, to really create a little more of an impact so that we are helping all of us move forward to a better place, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that we talk about with, that we're excited about with this program is that this roadmap can be used in all parts of our being. And it just depends on, where your stuck patterns tend to be. So some people it's physical bodies, some people it's the mind, some people it's their love and spiritual connection. We are going to go through all of those layers using this roadmap approach to find these little like obstacles and go, oh, is that really going to serve me? Maybe not. And what serves Chris is not going to be what serves me. Her unconscious choices are not the same as mine. But because of our own natures and our own tendencies, things that bother me don't bother her and vice versa. And we're all this way, which is why we get so excited about Ayurveda, because there isn't one fix for everybody. There's not one diet for everybody.
And we're all unique and they recognize that, which
Mhm.
is again, I think something that Sue and I both love about um, these wisdom traditions.
Yeah.
They know that not everything, as she said, serves everyone. There's
Mhm.
not a one size, one plan fits all approach. So, ta-da! So tell a little more about what we're going to get with the Empowered Living course. So,
So it's a 12-week program. And we made it 12 weeks because it needs to be a deep dive in order for us to actually go through these layers. So each week, we're going to do a live experiential group coaching session every Monday, and it's in the evening. And then each Wednesday, we're going to do a follow-up live Q&A session. So if you really love the content and you want to get a second dose, you can join us again on Wednesday. Or if you just have questions, you're like a little confused, you can send them to us and we'll address them. Both of these sessions will be recorded so that you can go back to them over and over and over again, or if you miss them. We've got weekly emails. We've got weekly workbooks to work through. We are going to have a private Facebook group only for the women that are in this program, which we are keeping small and intimate so that we can actually work with you and
go
support you
deep.
in this journey. Something new that we've never done, we've got guest presenters coming into the program on different days, and they're going to be sharing their expertise in the area when we're in it. So I'm very excited about these women coming in. Everybody gets a special gift bag that we're sending to you before we get started. We've got a supportive community of women. That's what we're trying to encourage here. It's, yes, we want to go through this deep dive, but we're going to do it in this supportive community, so that you feel supported, so that you feel you're part of something. It's a lot easier to go through this type of work in a community. Don't you think, Chris?
Absolutely.
And then if you join us, you're going to get 4 bonuses: yoga practice for cleansing and digestion, a chakra yin yoga for balancing your energy, yoga nidra meditation for calming the mind, and a nada shanana breath work to balance and calm the nervous system. These will be your gifts that you can have forever and ever. Oop. No more.
And that's it.
All right. So this 12-week program, we believe that if you take the 12 weeks and you really go through this, consciously, again, making conscious choices and discernment around being in this program, you will have a shift, whatever that shift needs to be for you. We are offering it this time only for $9.97 for the entire 12 weeks and everything that you get. You can pay for it either once or you can pay for it in installments. All of that is going to be on the link in the landing page. You can read more about the program, see if it resonates. We start January 3rd. So perfect time for the new year.
And we welcome any questions or comments. Just reach out to us. You can reach out on the Facebook page, or you can direct message us, right?
Yeah, right. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, Serena, hello. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and any questions or comments you have, please let us know.
Do you have a question?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
And you're not driving, are you?
No,
Oh,
I'm
thank
sitting.
goodness.
I finished, it was weird. I finished exercising right before the meditation. So I just sat down in a chair and did the meditation.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Serena is one of our regular students and people on the Facebook group, and she's doing the thing. She joined us while she was at the gym working out. That's committed. Really appreciate that. So thank you for coming. Thank
You're
anybody
welcome.
else who sees the recording that are interested in what we have to say. And please reach out if you have any questions. And we'll see you again real soon.
Thank you guys.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.